major bee in my bonnet with the Democrat Party. I think the Democrats have been gaslighting not just the United States of America, but the Western world, gaslighting us all into believing that President Biden's frailty was never an issue. Well, I think in that debate, and I stayed up for it, and I'm mighty glad I did, actually, it was great telly. I think in this very clip, you'll see that the entire argument the Democrats have made over recent time has been a complete farce.
Continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
I mean, that's a typical Trump line. You can't actually outdo the man when it comes to one-liners. But I say this as someone who massively respects, majorly respects the elderly. Right? There are some members of this panel who think differently. But I would argue that actually, you shouldn't be ruled out because of your age. Age is but a number. But in this case, it's clearly not a number. There's clearly problems with President Biden. But here he was, arguing he's fighting back.
I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
Well, Joe, I hate to break it to you, but the only thing that you do know, mate, is how to read a teleprompter, because that's what he was doing in that so-called comeback speech there. I mean, it's the weakest comeback since the relaunch of one iteration of the Sugar Babes. So I think the United States of America has been lied to. I think that actually President Biden's health is in more serious, dire straits than they've let on. And I think that's incredibly dangerous at this time for the Western world. Who disagrees?
Well, I disagree, Darren, of course.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Because
he's the only old person you do like.
Look, I mean, Camilla Tominey put it this way earlier, that the US has a choice between a man facing a custodial sentence and a man who can't finish a sentence. Now, it's a pretty good way of putting it, and I would rather have somebody who isn't the best debater in the world than somebody who is deeply corrupt and a committed liar facing a whole host of federal charges and has already been convicted of one federal charge, has been found guilty in a civil court of rape of a journalist.
That's not the only choice,
many decades ago. And the fact is that if you look at the state the US is in, I mean, what we would do for their economic growth, it has been way stronger, 3 times as strong as what we've had in the UK. No, mate. Absolutely. 3.5 years later, I don't think you can use that excuse.
Yes, you can. The economic policy's been put in place.
Well, in that case, you could just as easily say Trump's was a legacy of Obama, couldn't you, if you want to play that game? They have growth that we can't imagine. They've had the lowest income workers have had a 12% rise in their salaries. Can you imagine us having that? And that is what Joe Biden is doing.
But Benjamin, it's not about that, is it? It's not about any of that. It's about a man who actually has his finger on the red button that could just destroy the whole world. And he can't...
Is that something in the care home? Or...
He can't remember his own name. It's also very sad.
It is
We're
sad.
sitting here watching a man's mental health and illness play out in public. Yeah. His family should take him home.
I agree.
Albie, do you have a problem with Dr. Biden, as in Jill Biden? Because she's been painted as a sort of Lady Macbeth character on social media.
I've got to be honest, I don't really pay very much attention to Jill Biden, to be quite frank.
I don't know how you could miss her on that
She is
microphone.
the President of the United States, so you should probably pay closer attention.
I don't know. I found Melania more interesting. Melania Trump more interesting. I found Michelle Obama quite interesting. I don't have the same interest for Dr. Jill Biden, though I'm sure she's a great woman. But Benjamin, you talk about the choice being between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, like that is the only option.
Well, that is the choice.
Why couldn't the Democrats pick a new nominee so it's actually someone good versus Donald Trump, so the American people would have a better decision to make at the next election rather than someone who is facing a custodial sentence and someone who can't finish a sentence?
Oh, I mean, I think, if America were functioning healthily, then neither of those men would have been the choice. The idea that we're going, Joe Biden's a bit old, well, the other one's 3 years younger. There isn't a great deal of decision between them. Look, I would want someone called Pete Buttigieg, who's their transport secretary, who's a Harvard...
He's gay.
No, because he's a Harvard-educated veteran who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you might not respect that, Darren, but I do. I think he'd be a fantastic US president. But the idea that the Republicans are now just a cult of a convict is something that you should be far more alarmed by.
And the Democrats are a cult of someone who can't finish a sentence.
Yeah.
Look,
So are you.
Look, the reality
I
is...
can finish a sentence.
Sometimes.
I can't finish a sentence in this bloody room, I'll tell you that for sure. But what the problem we have with Joe Biden is that this is a man who supposedly runs the free world, which now is being exposed quite clearly that he doesn't. This is embarrassing. The leader of the free world...
What do you mean
United,
he doesn't?
Well, it's quite clear that he is not
He's not
mentally in charge. You're seeing Jill Biden literally walk him down the steps off of the debate stage. This is embarrassing for the most powerful country in the world. And since he's become president, we've seen what's happened in Israel. We've seen terrorists attack Israel and start a potential third world war in the Middle East. And we've seen,
Sorry, you think
Russia
Hamas was sat there going,
we've sat there with, hang on, Benjamin, let me
Jill's
finish.
walking down the stairs, so we're going to invade
Well, of course,
Israel.
if they have a weak president
What
of
are
the
you
United
smoking?
States, they're going to see the response militarily as weaker. And that's happened
think
with Russia.
Hamas
That's
did
happened
this
with
because of
Russia.
Joe Biden's
OK, but then let's
help?
take a look at
Well, why
Putin.
not?
As Putin is a dictator, a strong dictator, is going to look at his biggest enemy and go, can I take them out at this point? Can I abuse the position of weakness that they're in when they've got a terrible leader who can't even finish a sentence, let alone walk down the stairs?
I don't think weakness is how quickly you walk down the stairs. Weakness is being
He can't finish a sentence,
Weakness
Benjamin.
is being somebody who, when US president, as Donald Trump did, refused to back his own US intelligence
Benjamin,
services.
we saw the
and instead
debate yesterday.
supported
We watched
Russia.
the debate, and he couldn't even hear, we beat Medicare. It's like, what did you beat about Medicare? He doesn't even know what he's saying.
You beat it to death.
And yet,
Beat it to death.
Bad news,
You beat it
Trump-
to death, actually,
Bad
Joe.
news, Trumpists. The guy is that bad and still beat your bloke by 8 million votes.
Well, we'll see. We'll see, yeah.